The National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, is a United States federal law specifying the budget and expenditures of the United States Department of Defense. Each year's act also includes other provisions. The United States Congress oversees the defense budget primarily through two yearly bills, the National Defense Authorization Act and Defense Appropriations Bills. The Authorization Bill determines the agencies responsible for defense, establishes funding levels, and sets the policies under which money will be spent. The Howard P. Buck McKeon National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2015 is one of the proposed NDAA bills for fiscal year 2015. On May 8, 2014, the House Armed Services Committee ordered the bill reported or amended by a vote of 61-0. The committee spent 12 hours debating the bill and voting on hundreds of different amendments before voting to pass it. Now, we have Rand Paul today. You may remember the Kentucky senator and GOP presidential candidate. He filed an amendment to the military funding bill, demanding the release of 28 pages from the 9/11 report. These have been classified since 2002 and allegedly link Saudi Arabia to the attacks. Paul originally submitted a separate bill titled the Transparency for the Families of 9/11 Act, or S-1471, earlier this week, with the backing of Senators Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, and Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat from New York. On Friday afternoon, however, June 5, 2015, he said there would also be an amendment to the NDAA, the bill funding military operations for the next fiscal year. While the wording of the amendment is not known, Paul says it would require the president to declassify the pages within 60 days of the NDAA's adoption. The 28 pages were redacted from the final 9/11 report by the George W. Bush administration. Rumors have persisted that this was done to protect senior officials in Saudi Arabia. Members of Congress with a security clearance can apply for permission to read the 28 pages inside a secure room in the basement of the U.S. Capitol. They're not allowed to bring aides. They cannot take notes. And very few legislators have ever taken the opportunity to read them. One of those who has is Representative Walter Jones, Republican of North Carolina. In February of this year, Jones proposed a resolution in the House urging the president to declassify the 28 pages. Now, this bill is backed by Congressman Thomas Massie, Republican of Kentucky, and Stephen Lynch, Democrat of Massachusetts, and has more than a dozen co-sponsors, all of whom have read the redacted pages. In 2003, justifying the decision to classify that portion of the 900-page document, then President Bush said their release would aid the enemy in the war on terror by revealing U.S. sources and methods. Well, Congressman Jones disagrees. He's read those 28 pages, and he states, quote, "There's nothing in it about national security. It's about the Bush administration and its relationship with the Saudis." End quote. He told that to the New Yorker in September of 2014. In 2003, the Saudi embassy denounced all the hoopla and speculation that the kingdom funded or organized or even knew about the attacks. They stated in 2003, quote, "Saudi Arabia has nothing to hide. We can deal with questions in public, but we cannot respond to blank pages." End quote. Now that was said in 2003. A lot has happened since then, has it not? And the proposed 2016 NDAA allocates over $600 billion to the Pentagon, including funding for programs, sending weapons to Sunni and Kurdish tribal fighters in Iraq, as well as to the Ukrainian government. And God knows what else. This has been Me the People. Break this news.
The Vice President and I just finished a good conversation with the 911 Commission. It was wide-ranging. It was important. It was just a good discussion, and I really appreciate the members. I want to thank the Chairman and Vice Chairman for bringing the Commission here and giving us a chance to share views on different subjects. And they had a lot of good questions, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I took the time. This is an important commission, and it's important that I ask the questions they ask so that they can help make recommendations necessary to better protect our homeland. But it was I enjoyed it. Let me answer a couple of questions.
President, what topic did the commissioners want to spend most of the time on? And were there any subjects that you didn't answer or were advised by your counsel not to answer?
I was never advised by my counsel not to answer anything. I answered every question they asked. It's probably best that I not go into the details of the conversation and let them incorporate into their report. There was a lot of interest, excuse me, a lot of interest in about how to better protect America. In other words, they're very interested in the recommendations that they're going to lay out, and I'm interested in those as well. And we discussed a lot of things, Terry, a lot of subjects, it was a very cordial conversation. I was impressed by the questions, and it was I think it helped them understand how I think and how I run the White House and how we deal with threats. John.
President, as you know, a lot of critics suggested that you wanted to appear jointly with the Vice President so that you two could keep your story straight or something.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you think of the value of appearing together and how you would answer those critics?
Yeah, first of all, look, I mean, if we had something to hide, we wouldn't have met with them in the first place. We answered all their questions, and as I say, I think I came away good about the session because I wanted them to know you know, how I set strategy, how we run the White House, how we deal with threats. The Vice President answered a lot of their questions, answered all their questions. And I think it was important for them to see our body language as well, how we work together. But it was, you know, the commissioners will speak for themselves over time. They will let you know whether they thought it was a fruitful series of discussions. I think they did. I think they found it to be useful. Yeah, Adam.
Mr. President,
Yes.
don't you think that the families deserve to have a transcript or to be able to see what you
Adam,
said?
you asked me that question yesterday. I got the same answer, yeah.
Can you say with any confidence that there are no al-Qaeda operatives active in the country today?
No, I can't say that.
I should ask you about that.
No, they didn't. But I'm not going to get any more details about what they asked me. I told you I wasn't going to get into details about what they asked me, and then I just fell into your trap. But no, let me talk about vulnerabilities, and I got to get back to work. We are still vulnerable to attack, and the reason why is al-Qaeda still exists. Al-Qaeda is dangerous. Al-Qaeda hates us, and we have to be correct 100% of the time in defending America, and they got to be right once. And therefore, we are vulnerable. But people need to know we're working. We, the government, at all levels, are working long hours to protect America. We're doing the best we can. The best way to secure America, however, is to stay on the offensive and bring those people to justice before they harm America again. And that's what we're continuing to do. But yeah, so long as there's an al-Qaeda enemy that is willing to kill, we are vulnerable. Thank you all.